Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 12th of April, Feast of First Fruits, or as they call it, Easter Sunday. May God be with all of you, and may you realize how important He is in these troubling times in the world, with the suspension of religious freedoms, draconian measures from certain governors in the United States, as we've been vindicated again. All these crazy conspiracy theorists who said there was a plot against the American people. We were told this 1 week before JFK was murdered in Dallas. He said there was a plot at the highest echelon of government to enslave every man, woman, and child in the United States. And, well, it took quite a few years, but they found a way. You've got a corrupt World Health Organization leader. You've got a corrupt CDC. For those folks who don't believe in corruption trickling down, you are blind and obviously brainwashed, and I'm sorry for that. For the folks who are out there saying it's okay to fry your brains with the drugs, God bless you. You are worthless at that point, because all you care about is when you're going to get high again, and whether it's weed or heroin, it's no different. You're always looking for your next high, because you don't know how to be high by yourself. Other things make you high in life. Being alive, taking a deep breath, walking in the woods, looking around at the creation that was created for us. Either way, I was on the Twitters, and there are so many stories. This one's from Fox. A Dem city clerk charged with changing ballots in Michigan, but there's no voter fraud, according to Barry. He said, voter fraud, what's that? That's how you got elected. We are in serious disarray here, folks, and no one wants to talk about it. There's a story from the New York Times regarding that the allegations against Joe Biden, especially since there was a credible police report drawn up in 1993 with the DC Metro Police. The New York Times has really shown their true colors and who they really work for. They do not work for the United States. They work for outside interests. And it's about time any funding that comes from the United States people gets pulled from them, because they are inexplicably just moronic and obviously committing sedition and treason. People forget that the Constitution states great items. I mean, one of them is if you're charged with treason or sedition and you're convicted of it, you no longer get those freedoms that this country offers. I saw a video yesterday online that was the video of when Hillary lost, and all those people were so upset. And when you look at those people and you look in their eyes, you can see they have no souls. They are just sheep. ripe for the slaughter. They will march. They will march to the anti-American, anti-national, how we're always bad, we're garbage. Meanwhile, in Somalia right now, they are still trading slaves from Central Africa. And we have a woman in the Minnesota Senate, or a congresswoman, who says that America is bad. Meanwhile, her family's legacy was the destruction of over 150,000 Somali innocent men, women, and children, which is why they fled to Kenya. And they sought refugee status in Kenya. And yet our country was still good enough to bring in her family. We have a major problem in our country. One of those problems is we have as the generation before me, they have failed to keep their oversight. It's sad, it's unacceptable, but you were so worried about how much money you had, and you kept up the appearance of going to church, and you kept up the appearance of volunteering, and now that appearance is showing its true colors. That you never really cared. You never really were involved. You voted, but you didn't watch the people who were supposed to handle the situation appropriately, which is really disturbing. We are one generation, always one generation away from losing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in our country. And that goes to the school system, I must say. In 1979, your President Carter, a peanut farmer from Georgia, thought it was a great idea to federalize the school systems. Now, that was only, 25 years after World War II ended. You learned nothing. No one understood why Hitler got the power he got over the people of Germany. If you actually read history and you studied it, you would see that Hitler got that power because he monopolized the children in the schools. He started to brainwash them young. Hitler was a psyop guy. He loved the idea of psychological warfare. He could control an entire population if he controlled the children. And you've been letting it happen here for decades. For decades, with the music, with the games, with the schools. It is disgusting that you've allowed this to happen. And now my generation is looked at like we're a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. People like InfoWars screamed about that whole Pizzagate thing back in 2016 and 17. Screamed about Jeffrey Epstein back in 2008 and 9. Was telling you about it. Warned us all about it. And you laughed. You said, he's a nut. He's crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go back to shows that are archived on his own network. And we're talking shows from 10 years ago that are describing everything that is happening right now. That if we ever got a populist president in office, the folks that want to control the world and this country would use any means necessary to destroy that president. And we saw it in the past 3 years with a Russia hoax, an impeachment that was a sham. And while they were voting on impeachment, a pandemic was lined up right behind it. What's going to be next, do you think, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think is going to be next? Put it in the comments. What do you think is going to be next? Since the shutdown, I've been home doing a lot of research, and I got to tell you, I've read a bunch of the WikiLeaks Podesta emails, and they are vile. The people on those email chains are all people in high places in your government, people in Hollywood, people in state senate and Congress and governors and attorney generals from states. Nobody wants to look into it because if you actually see it, your life will never be the same. When you're fighting a battle like this, to see the bias in the media, to see the bias in the law enforcement, the people who are put in charge of the law in this country have screwed us all. They've screwed us all. They have screwed us all. Under Comey, things went uninvestigated. 14 days to get an FBI team to Benghazi, an unsecured crime scene. Do you know why Ambassador Stevens was allowed to die? Because he was about to bring down the entire State Department for pedophilia. You know who was part of that State Department, ladies and gentlemen? A certain governor of a certain northeastern state. Think about that. But he used psychological warfare. He told people that he was going to give them $15 an hour, and he was going to give them legal weed. And people chose a plant and money over their safety and security. You deserve neither. You deserve neither. You don't deserve liberty. Anybody who voted for that man and didn't do their due diligence and their research tells me you're dumber than a box of rocks. You voted for him because he lied to you. I mean, his lieutenant governor said that she grew up in a ghetto. She didn't grow up in a ghetto, ladies and gentlemen. She grew up in one of the richest towns in Essex County. Kidding me? A daughter of a doctor and a lawyer. How is that growing up in poverty? I'm the son of a hairdresser and a body man, an auto body man. They struggled their entire lives to give us a life. And they worked themselves literally to death. And to see these people that have had everything handed to them, to pass that irresponsibility onto people who don't have that safety net is absolutely disgusting. You don't get anything in this life for free. Just ask anybody who was really wealthy and fell into drugs. Robert Downey Jr. His father was a multi-millionaire movie mogul and an actor. And he had a major drug problem in the 80s. Look at Corey Haim. Millions of dollars, fame, fortune. Died from alcoholism. Stuff worth getting is worth earning. No one wants to see that anymore because they've been taught that everything is owed to them. Nothing needs to be earned. And unfortunately, that is the most dangerous play that the generation before me could have done. By not teaching the responsibility, by not teaching the respect, by not teaching that things are not given for free. Nothing is owed to you in this world. Your parents need to give you health benefits, a warm place to live, food, education, and medical care. That is it. Everything else you earn. For the folks out there, and you know who I'm talking to, for the folks out there that think that everything is just free and easy and hey man, everything's just fine, man. You folks are blind, and you are uneducated, and you don't want to see the truth because the truth might scare you so bad that you'll shit yourself. These folks that think they've had it hard in life, we've all had it hard in life. Folks like me, folks that had a struggle from kindergarten all the way up to the end of their schooling. We've struggled. Most of my class that graduated went to Cancun. Mommy and Daddy paid for it. They went to Miami Beach. I didn't have that luxury. Nor did I want that. That's not me. I'm much happier sitting somewhere working on electronics or rebuilding an engine. But I was insulted and made fun of for that my entire life. I've always been overweight. Called an elephant, fat ass, tubby, tubbo. Clothes were made fun of because they weren't designer. Harassed, ridiculed. Those folks that did that were bullies. And we all know that bullies never admit to bullying because they don't know what it's like to be held accountable. Well, I gotta tell you that accountability tour is coming down the line. And eventually they will be held accountable. Eventually they're going to harm somebody, or get somebody injured, or get somebody, unfortunately, killed with their irresponsibility. And, of course, Daddy's money will cover the bill. That money doesn't bring back the person's life. That money doesn't bring back the person to good health. All that money does is hides a problem. And I have a person I speak to once a week. I've never met them in person, but they're helping me through some times. And my analogy is, if you have a check engine light in your car, and it costs you $100 to go get the codes pulled, but you say, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to buy this part because somebody told them that this is the problem. By the time 2 weeks go by, you've thrown $500 in parts at the car, and the light's still on. So you say, you know what, I'm going to go get it checked. So you've thrown $500 worth of parts in the car. Now you go spend another $100 to get the code pulled, and the guy looks at you and says, yeah, it's your gas cap. It's loose. So you've wasted all that money. For the folks out there that think that you can just do whatever you want and get away with it, and that there's no consequences in life, eventually those consequences will hit home, and when they do, they're going to hit you harder than you could ever imagine. And those folks deserve that. When you are handed things for free that you didn't earn, you don't deserve them. And it's not a jealousy thing. I don't care if somebody has a brand new Maserati, because they didn't pay for it in cash. They're renting that car. Look at all the folks around here that had new cars, and then this shutdown hit. They can't make their payments. I don't have a new car. I paid for my car in cash. And yeah, it might not be pretty, but it does exactly what I need it to do. It gets me from point A to point B in a relatively comfortable way. I have air conditioning, I have heat. That's all that matters. The engine runs, it gets decent fuel mileage, and it's not pretty, but it does what I need it to do. These folks out there that need these real fancy cars to fuel their egos, they're trying to make up for something else in their life. And that's never going to be filled by money or material things. You're missing something else. What you're missing is a strong relationship spiritually with the deity you believe in. These folks out there that go to concerts and they use that as their, I've been to 1,000 concerts. Well, glad you've wasted that money. I'm glad you've wasted your life. And that's what you've done. The problem with those people is they are miserable. So because they are miserable, they need to make other people miserable, because there's an old saying, misery loves company. Well, these folks that are miserable, these folks that need to bring other people down with them, it's unacceptable. The reason there's such disinformation in the media today is because these people know they're guilty. They know they are guilty of crimes that are unspeakable. They know they're guilty. Somebody said about 2 years ago, when the exposure happens, these people will not be able to walk down the streets. They won't be able to walk down the streets because the court of public opinion is going to hold them accountable, and that is going to scare the living daylights out of them. And I feel sorry for them, and I pray for them every day. And that goes for everybody who doesn't have a strong relationship. That goes for everybody who would rather have meetings than have a solid relationship and a foundation where they can build off of to better the human race. Instead, they want to have arguments and fights and scream and yell about nonsense rather than actually be held accountable. Certain people that might watch this will know who I'm talking to. I pray for you every day because you are Satan's little helpers. You have no morals or values. Your moral compasses are so effed up that I'm surprised you can find your way back to your cars in a parking lot. Anyway, that is my Easter message. Feast of First Roots. Praise Jesus that he has risen and he has taken away your sins as long as you believe in him. May God bless your day, bless your families, and may these restrictions be lifted so that we can get back to our churches, our congregations, and back to our normal lives. Pray these things in your name, amen. And just remember, no matter what you do, there's always one person watching you. And that is the most important thing on this planet. May God bless all of you.